Hello, and welcome to today's video, where we're going to be talking about the Cornell Method, one of the most popular note-taking techniques to best retain the information that you're taking in, whether it's in a class, in a book, in a podcast, or any other format. At its core, the Cornell Method is a system to register, organize, condense, and review the information that you're taking in so that you can best remember it. The method was created by Professor Walter Puck in the 1950s to help his students engage in active learning. And he named this method after the university he was teaching at, Cornell University. The method is primarily paper-based, which helps because research has shown over the years that those who handwrite their notes have an easier time recalling information than those who don't. The Cornell Method is also effective because when someone summarizes the information that they've been given in their own words, they're more likely to remember it. So let's break down exactly how to use the Cornell Method. First things first, you're going to want to take a sheet of paper and divide it into 3 separate sections. You're going to want your notes, your cues, and your summary. Then at the top, you're going to want to use a title or a headline to refer to the content on that page. But make sure that you keep it specific. For example, how to use to-do lists for productivity, rather than just going with productivity, which would be a little bit too generic. Once you have your heading in place, you're going to want to go to the right, to the notes section. That's where you're going to put down all the big concepts, ideas, graphs, and everything like that. Remember, don't use sentences that are too long in this section. You're going to want to keep your sentences to about 5 to 10 words maximum. Once you've filled out the notes section, you're going to want to go over to the left and fill out the cues section. This is where you're going to put things that will help trigger your memory about the information you wrote down. Things like keywords, questions, symbols, abbreviations, anything like that. The cues are what helps you remember and organize the information that you want to take away from that particular lesson. And once you're done with that section, you're going to want to go to the bottom and fill out the summary section. That's where you're going to write a few lines to summarize everything that you just learned. Remember, you're going to want to do this while the information is still fresh in your mind so it's as clear as possible. And that's it. That's the system. So let's recap and break it down into 5 distinct steps. Step 1 is recording, which is taking down information in words and phrases that you can understand. Step 2 is formulating. That's where you're going to come up with questions, abbreviations, and clarifications to make sense of this information. The next step is a really important one. That's the recalling step. You're going to want to cover your notes and then try and remember the information using just the words, concepts, drawings, whatever it is that you put in the cues section to remember. Once you're done with the recalling step, you're going to want to move on to the reviewing step. That's where you look if you've forgotten anything, if there's any holes in your logic, if there's any connections that aren't really smooth, or there's concepts that you're forgetting, and you're going to want to fill that in with the appropriate information. And lastly, you're going to want to put everything together and then find ways to relate it to your existing knowledge set or your past experiences so you can best remember it. You do that by writing a summary of the information that you took in your own words. And that's it. Now you know how to use the Cornell Method. Before we finish, here's a few tips so that you can get the most out of this practice. So tip number 1, when you're writing down notes, make sure to try and focus only on the essential concepts and ideas. And keep your sentences short. Really try and aim for 5 to 10 words. If you're finding that they're getting a lot longer than that, then maybe try and break them down to some smaller ideas and concepts. Tip number 2, try and get comfortable using symbols and abbreviations. These can help learn and process information a lot faster. Tip number 3, when you're writing the summary, try and focus on the bigger picture rather than focusing on the details. Our final tip for today is to try and use spaced repetition to store information in your long-term memory. We've linked to some descriptions on how to do this in the description below. The Cornell Method has been a popular method for over 50 years and with good reason. So we encourage you to give it a try if you haven't done so already. If you have, let us know in the comments and let us know how it worked for you. Or let us know what other method you used to take your notes. And if you haven't signed up for Routine yet, you can do so at routine.co, or you can click on the link below. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.